YouTube. This is Dr. Wanda, and I'm changing up my ambiance a little bit this evening. I'm sitting outside in Ghana, and I'm enjoying this nice breeze. And I actually didn't have a chance to do my chat yesterday. And it looked like I might not be able to do a chat today because Isaac and Gia are enjoying the Olympics. And so I said, you know what? Let me get me a chair. Let me go outside. Let me change my whole atmosphere up because I actually have a lot on my mind that I would like to share and would look forward to your feedback concerning it. I'm torn about returning to the U.S. Now, if I return, the goal was to go by the first week of September and stay until like the end of January, the end of December, so that Gia could return and go back to school starting in January, because the academic school year in Africa starts in the new year. Um, Here's where I'm torn. I haven't worked for the University of Concordia now since March. And part of the reason I came to the continent starting like 5 or 6 years ago was because there is a vested effort to make um, academics, to make professorship contract work. You know, a big chunk of universities do not seek to give you tenureship, but rather to have you have a course here or there. They pretty much use you on a contingent basis, and so it is impossible to have a living wage to build a life around that. Now, at a certain point, if you have too much education in the U.S., it works against you because you're too overqualified for most things. And of course, when you're overqualified, that makes you go into a category where you're underemployed. There's only so many people that want to deal with you when you have real dense credentials, okay? There's no guarantee because you have multi degrees and lots of experience that you're employable. In fact, in this new world now, it actually almost guarantees that you will be underemployed, and I am part of that underemployed force. So I've made peace with whatever Concordia courses they give me. I teach those courses. I'm always excited for my students and to impart any sort of rich knowledge because these are all people hoping to go into the helping fields. In particular, they want to be counselors. Um, and so I give that 110, okay? But in terms of applying my gifts, my skill sets, my talent, where I really get to be the scholar practitioner as God designed me, that gets to happen here on the continent, which is why I've served so many nations, because wherever the need is, I freely go and I take books and technology and learning aids and resources. I do outreach, all the good stuff that I used to do in the U.S. on a regular basis. I do very, very impactful work here on the continent. So I haven't had a class since March. So what that means is I've been living in Africa based off of the economy that I'm currently under, and I've discovered that I can do it. You know, not that that stream of income isn't important and that I should not work at that. And I do have some other little pockets of stream of income, but I actually learned how to survive in Africa. So I am excited about the cafe, even though it's penny money. And I'm even more excited about Wonderland's Naturals, which is online and gives me access to not only to this economy but to those of Europe. We've sold stuff in Canada. We've had stuff that we've shipped off to the Netherlands. I think just recently, it blew my mind. We actually finally shipped something off to the Caribbean. So people have a great interest in Ghanaian goods. In particular, it's herbs and a lot of it's cloth. So I'm doing okay. Okay. So I had to ask myself, what are you going back to? To do what? They haven't given you a class. There would have been a summer A and a summer B. I haven't had. There's no summer A or summer B for me. And so how I discovered that I should be concerned was that a student reached out to me and greeted me. And he said, oh, Professor, nice to have another class with you. Got a question. I said, hey, wait a minute, I'm not in session. What we talking about here? Let me find out what's going on because I'm not in session. I don't have a contract. This is the first I've heard of it. And he was in week 2. So it turned out after a little bit, and I'm going to crunch this story. I talked to the dean I normally report to, and it turned out he had been removed from his position and replaced. And so he forwarded me to the new gentleman in position. And I sent the situation to him, okay? And he did not get back to me. I contacted him to ask him, what have you learned? And what he told me was I didn't have a class, that the class was given to someone else, and that the students were not following the instructor's notes, and that's why I was contacted. I informed my former student, and he said that made sense because that particular professor hadn't bothered to greet them, and they had in fact left my name on the e-college, which tells me what they've done is that they have essentially removed the professor who wrote the curriculum, okay, who wrote this stuff up, myself, and they've given it to someone else, okay? And this was one of the fears I told my husband when everything went online and they started asking professors for all of their artifacts. I said, I'm gonna put everything on the e-college that makes the college have body, it can flow, but I'm not putting my lectures up there. Because if I put the lectures up there, then what they can do is essentially they can get rid of me, and it's almost like a webinar. They don't actually need to pay the professor if they have all of your content. So my lectures or any sort of special readings, all of that stuff is on my YouTube channel, and I just have it under private. So when I teach a course and I need certain things, I will send them the link and they can hear whatever lecture notes I want to add to that. And I often refresh the lecture notes, but it doesn't matter. All this stuff stays up on the YouTube channel. These schools are dirty. They're very grimy. So I've always, since '08, I've stomached them after being on a long fight to bring attention to the mistreatment of academics, to the watering down of good curriculum, to the fact that they've taken this and made it like a white collar sweatshop where you're giving professionals who have, you know, um, $160,000, $170,000 loans, a class here, a class there, uh, canceling them out with no notice, gutting courses. I was on that fight for a long time, and then I finally came off of it and I said, enough. Uh, Whatever they give me is what they give me, but I'm going to use my gifts, my talents, my skill set someplace else, and I'm going to use them in a way where I can still feed myself. So there's no sense considering yourself a scholar if you can't think of other ways to make money from your gifts. And so I'm okay. So here's the issue. I'm going back for what? I already know I'm underemployed there. I already know I don't have a class. And they removed this class in the middle of a pandemic. Okay, you're talking about a respected, well-loved professor. They've gotten no poor reviews or anything over the top. And any complaints that students have been standard things, I'm sure, because they let you know. Believe me, when you get bad reviews, you find out rapidly. Um, I'm asking myself, what are you going back to? To do what? I have a house there, my mother's there. Um, but, essentially, it's going to be more of that going and set down because the job is unstable. I don't want to Uber. I don't want to drive Lyft. I don't want to do DoorDash. All of this lower level work that they have um, professionals doing in order to make ends meet, but they don't make ends meet, okay? And so I'm going back to Chicago. And listen, I've done all of it. I've babysit, I've worked for elder care, I've done all of it. But, um, and I'm not special. Lots of professionals are working 2 and 3 jobs just to stay afloat. The blessing I have is that when I was making a lot of money in public education, I was a smart girl. I was never wasteful. I was never the chick that had to have her hair and nails done. I was never that type of diva. I was a person that bought good, solid assets. So I paid for my house. I would say that's probably the biggest thing that's saving me is that I don't actually pay a mortgage. If I was paying a mortgage, I probably would be homeless, to be honest with you. It would just be too much because the work is too inconsistent. You have a course, you don't have a course. Now, I told my husband, I said, I'm finally at the point. I actually believe that it's my destiny to build a school, to have my own school, to not have to go through that ever again. Now the truth is, I'm always gonna have my foot on some campus if they want me there. I think my brand of scholarship, I want students to have access to until they can't have access to it no more, and that would mean that the good Lord called me yonder. Okay. But on the other hand, in terms of life and the things that feed the spirit, that give you joy, that define your purpose, where you really explore your purpose, I'm trying to figure out, what am I going back there for? What am I going back there for? I could rent the house. The house could be income for me. I don't rent the house because my mother's in the house. And we have a no nursing home rule. And I'm not going to put her in a nursing home. Then I talked to her about assisted living. She said, she calls me Dusty. She said, Dusty, I want to stay in the house. I'm trying desperately to honor this lady. So I'm like many professionals. I'm smashed between an elder and a baby with low income and underemployment. But on the continent, I thrive. I thrive. I'm flowing. I'm alive. I have purpose. The stressors here are 10 times less than what you face in America. And do I need to go back and check on some things and get some stuff in order? Perhaps. But perhaps I should also invest my energy putting together that special team of people that can do a lot of that stuff for me, and the rest that I manage it virtually. Um, I know my mother wants to lay eyes on me and Gia Boo, and I want to lay eyes on her and the cats. Um, but do I need to do that now? Is this what I need to do? I was one of those the set of people that received their income tax extremely late. Okay, I filed back in February. They finally showed up here in July, and so I would be taking the last of that big lump sum nest egg to make it back, to do some management things and some um, I don't know, I guess cleanup work. I'm not sure even what I'm doing. So this is where I'm at, YouTube. Underemployed professor thriving on the continent. The same meager money, the money that's too small for the U.S., is okay living for me here in Africa. And I've been here almost a year now. So I'm trying to decide. If I buy these tickets, then I've eaten deeply into my nest egg. Because, everything I do times two. It's not just my ticket, it's Gia's ticket. And even Isaac this time is trying to come to the U.S. So um, my pot is full. My plate is full and my pot is full. And so I would be curious as to thoughts and feedback um, for individuals listening to this chat. Very personal, trying to be transparent and honest. Um, but this is where I'm at today, torn about the idea of returning home. And I'm coming from Chicago. Chicago, they gun clapping, they carjacking, and they killing. The murders are every weekend are off the chain. Okay, and I'm not talking about no police brutality. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about some internalized hate on steroids is going on in Chicago. So even that burdens me to have to wake up listening to it and looking at those numbers. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna continue to enjoy this breeze, and I'm gonna post this video, and I'm gonna wait for your feedback. And you enjoy your Saturday. I'm signing out.